Hi kids, Dad again. Got another book for you. Wombat Stew. One day on the banks of a billabong, a very clever dingo caught a wombat. And he decided to make wombat stew, gooey, brewy, yummy, chewy wombat stew. Platypus came ambling up the bank. "G'day, dingo," he said, snapping his bill. "What's all this water for?" "I'm brewing up a gooey, chewy stew with that fat wombat," replied Dingo with a toothy grin. "If you ask me," said Platypus, "the best thing for a gooey stew is mud. Big blops of billabong mud." "Blops of mud?" laughed Dingo. "What a good idea. Righto, in they go." So Platypus scooped up big blops of mud with his tail and tipped them in the billy can. Oh, that doesn't sound like a good idea. Around the bubbling billy, Dingo danced and sang, wombat stew, gooey, brewy, yummy, chewy, wombat stew." Waltzing out from the shade of the ironbark came Emu. She arched her graceful neck over the brew. "Oh ho, Dingo," she fluttered. "What have we here?" "Gooey, chewy wombat stew," boasted Dingo. "If only it were a bit more chewy," she sighed. "But don't worry, a few feathers will set it right." "Feathers?" smiled Dingo. "That would be chewy. Righto, in they go." So into the gooey brew, Emu dropped her finest feathers. Around and around the bubbling billy, Dingo danced and sang, wombat stew, a crunchy munchy for my lunchy, wombat stew." The old blue-tongued lizard came sliding off his sun-soaked stone. "Silly Dingo," he hissed. "There are no flies in the stew. Can't be wombat stew without crunchy flies in it." And he stuck out his bright blue tongue. "There's a lot to be said for flies," agreed Dingo, rubbing his paws together. Righto, in they go. So Lizard snapped up 100 flies from the air with his long tongue and flipped them into the gooey, chewy stew. Sounded worse and worse. Around and around and around the bubbling billy, Dingo danced and sang, wombat stew, crunchy munchy for my lunchy, wombat stew." Up through the red dust popped Echidna. "Wait a bit, not so fast," he bristled, shaking the red dust from his quills. "Now I've been listening to all this advice, and take it from me, for a munchy stew, you need slugs and bugs and creepy crawlies." Dingo wagged his tail. "Why, I should have thought of that. Righto, in they go." So Echidna dug up all sorts of creepy crawlies and dropped them in the gooey, chewy, crunchy stew. The very clever Dingo stirred and stirred, all while singing, wombat stew, hot and spicy, oh so nicey, wombat stew." Just then, the sleepy-eyed koala climbed down from his scribbly gum. "Look here," he yawned. "Any bush cook knows you can't make a spicy stew without gum nuts." "Leave it to Koala to think of gum nuts," laughed Dingo, and licked his whiskers. Righto, in they go. And into the gooey, chewy, crunchy, munchy stew, Koala shook lots of gum nuts. "Aha!" cried Dingo. "Now my stew is missing only one thing." "What's that?" asked the animals. "That fat wombat." "Wait! Stop! Hang on, Dingo! You can't put wombat into the stew." "Why not? You haven't tasted it." "Righto, I'll taste it." And that very clever Dingo bent over the billy and took a great big slurp of stew. "Ah! I'm poisoned," he howled. "You've all tricked me." And he dashed away deep into the bush, never to sing again. And that is the end of Wombat Stew. Thanks Archie, Rory, Clem. I love you all a lot. And I can't wait till I get to see you again. I'm going to keep doing more books for you, possibly some other cool stuff. But I'll keep making videos for you. I love you all. Bye!